Geek, strap in, because this is going to get good. So we went to go see Deadpool Wolverine, and it is time to get into it. Spoilers ahead. If you have not watched this movie, what's the matter with you? Go watch the movie. Come back. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Now, let's get into it. So, got to start off by saying this movie was amazing. This movie was every single thing that it needed to be, from the character work, from the story, the way it utilizes the multiverse, the way it is just this beautiful send-off to this whole aspect and facet of comic book movies, while still giving credit to everything, at least on the Marvel side, that came before the MCU in such a way that didn't insult fans' intelligence, that didn't prioritize the MCU as if it is the peak and everything else falls below it or just simply doesn't exist in comparison. And the way that they were able to create a movie that truly felt like a Deadpool story brought to life, more so than any of the other Deadpool movies, was just chef's kiss. Now, mind you, we watched the first and second ones in prep for the third one, and I love them all. I think they're all great. But more so than any other one, this one really feels like it took all of these different elements of Deadpool in the character, in the story, in the dimension hopping, in the fourth wall breaking, in the team up, and packaged it all up in a way that felt like we are reading a comic book panel in live action. Now, I, like many others, had a lot of questions going into this. And I have to say, I did myself the favor of going in completely blind. I knew exactly two things about this movie. One, Hugh Jackman was coming back as Wolverine. Two, Cassandra Nova was the big bad. Other than that, didn't know a single thing, and that was completely by design. So this entire movie is like somebody standing in front of the toy chest and pulling out another toy and pulling out another toy and pulling out another toy in this way that felt like Christmas morning. Like, what else are we going to get? The only movie within the superhero genre that I can compare this one to is No Way Home. But like I said, a lot of people had the question, well, how are we going to square the circle of what is considered one of the best and is the top of the list for many people's favorite superhero movie in Logan? How are we going to address the Logan of it all and make a joke out of it is exactly the right call for Deadpool. And it gave an opportunity to say, okay, that send-off was beautiful and shouldn't be touched. But we still need to have a Wolverine. And it gave a new opportunity for Hugh Jackman to get even more mileage out of a character that he's been playing for like 20 plus years. And to be able to showcase this entirely different side is a feat as an actor. Not to mention the way that they were able to utilize this character that has been at the forefront of the X-Men for 20 plus years, and utilize that character as a catalyst to be able to see all of these different dimensions within the multiverse in a way that actually made sense, in a way that actually rewarded longtime comic book fans, but didn't punish you for not knowing, because at worst, you were getting big spectacle. At worst, you were getting these different moments of different parallel universes. At best, you're getting Days of Future Past Logan. You're getting Berserker Logan. You're getting comic book accurate Logan, all out of this guy that everybody thought was done playing the character. I can't begin to say enough amazing things about the setup and execution for this one, that even down to the way that they explained everybody being alive from the second one, and explained why X-Force wasn't around in the third one, while still staying true to a moving story, was so well done. And I have to say, I was not excited about another big multiverse caper, because I'll be honest, I'm over it. I'm over the multiverse thing. It was cool when it first started happening, but it is so done to death that the idea of having another widespread dimension hopping story just really did not get me excited. But they made a believer out of me that there is still life in being able to bring different timelines together in a way that doesn't just use it as a plot device or a MacGuffin to get you from point A to point B. And with a movie like this, with this much lead up, right? You have to understand that this movie is going to pay off a lot of the behind the scenes stuff between Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. And so, yeah, there is an argument that this movie definitely rewards folks that understand all of the behind the scenes story that led up to this finally happening. But the story doesn't suffer for it. As a matter of fact, they give comic book fans so much of what they're looking for out of a movie like this, and all of the Easter eggs and all of those big moments of action and fight scenes, that they give fans exactly what they're looking for when paying the price for admission. Even down to the original Wolverine that fought the Hulk, the multiple fight scenes between Wolverine and Deadpool. And that's before we start to get into the cameos of it all. I mean, the opening sequence to Bye Bye Bye, where he's using Logan's body as a weapon against the TVA, was just out of this world. It was ridiculous in the best possible way. I mean, you may hate me, but it ain't no lie, baby, bye, bye, bye. Like a prayer, that scene had us roaring. So in our movie theater, there were a couple of different generations represented. You had your Gen Xers, you had your millennials, you had your Gen Zs. Well, when Iris started playing, the Gen Xers and the millennials started laughing hysterically. You could see the Gen Zers looking around like, what are you laughing at? Like, yeah, made me feel old, but it was phenomenal. And then we get into the cameos of it all as the story starts to get going. And we start off with Chris Evans. And at first I'm like, okay, it's an MCU movie. You need to have the MCU cast into this thing. And so here's Captain America. Fine. He starts talking, And I lean over to Mrs. Bearded Geek and I'm like, this isn't Cap. That's Johnny Blaze. And sure enough, and then we're met with Toad and Pyro and these cameos from villains from the X-Men saga that are just peppered in along the way that are just out of this world. And then Cassandra Nova. She she was one of the best aspects of this entire movie. The way they did the effect of her reaching into people's minds was so well done and so creepy. Not to mention, they were able to get an actress that looked strikingly similar to James McAvoy. Like, now I want another movie with James McAvoy as Professor X with her as Cassandra Nova. That needs to happen. I really hope that's not the last time that we get her as Cassandra Nova. She did an amazing job. She absolutely chewed the scenery, and Cassandra Nova is a pretty big character from the comics. So my hope is if we do get that character again, just bring her back because she absolutely killed it, adding to the story in such an incredible way. And then we have the secret cast that I lost my mind over when I kind of figured that we were going to get Laura Kinney because of Logan, because Wolverine was such an important part of this story that was kind of an assumption. But then they just went above and beyond. Blade, Elektra, and then Channing Tatum with the suit and the powers and the accent. Gambit is one of, if not my absolute favorite X-Men. And so to finally see Channing Tatum get to play Gambit after knowing the entire backstory of him playing Gambit in the movies and how much he wanted to play Gambit was awesome. As somebody who has fan casted what it would look like to have all of these different characters be able to cross over with each other, to have an affinity for those characters and that storytelling, and to see those characters be given gravity and to be given actual weight and not just to be played for a joke, to be obliterated, and to actually have fans of those movies recognized. Again, this movie did exactly what it needed to do and then some. And while obviously there was plenty that was played for laughs, obviously there was a lot that was played for the gag of it all. I mean, that dog and the nice pool and all of that, absolutely hilarious. This still provided substance with its R rating, with its comedy, with all of the moving pieces. It still was a story with substance and something that was able to bring life to this largely dark period of the MCU, to this really giant clustermuck of a saga involving the multiverse, and was able to send off a whole era of Marvel movies in a way that gave an in-universe explanation as to why nobody remembers those heroes and why they would want to have their final note in the sun. I cannot say enough good things about it. I can't tell you when the next MCU movie is going to be that I'm actually going to be interested in watching, but this one this one may have actually made me interested again. But that's all. That's it. That's a wrap. What I want you to do is sound off below. Let me know what you thought of the movie, what your favorite scene was, and what else you want to hear me talk about. While you're at it, go ahead and hit subscribe, tick that bell so that way you don't miss any future uploads. But until next time, peace.